We're living in this absolutely wild moment in biology, where the line between medicine and technology, it's just completely blurring. So today, we're going to dive into a really powerful idea. What if we could actually program our own bodies, our own cells, to hunt down and wipe out our worst diseases? So let's start with a really big question. Just think about this for a second. What if the most powerful pharmacy on the entire planet wasn't in some high-tech lab, but was already inside you? What if your own cells could be transformed into this living, thinking medicine programmed to do one thing: defeat cancer? I know it totally sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but as you're about to see, it's quickly becoming our reality.
Okay, so to really get how incredible the solution is, we first have to wrap our heads around the problem. And the thing about cancer is, it's an unbelievably sneaky enemy. It's a true master of disguise.
And this really gets to the heart of the challenge. See, unlike a virus or some bacteria, cancer isn't an outside invader. It starts from within us. These are literally our own cells that they've gone rogue. They pick up mutations that make them just break all the rules. They start dividing like crazy. And this is the really crucial part. They look so much like our normal healthy cells that they can just hide in plain sight. Our body's defenses just don't see them.
Right, so that brings us to our body's natural defenders, because we do have them. We all have this incredible army of elite soldiers patrolling our bodies, like 24/7.
Let me introduce you to the T cells. These guys are the elite assassins of your immune system. Seriously. Each one has its own unique, randomly generated sensor that's designed to find and destroy threats. You can think of them as this super specialized security force, constantly scanning for anything that just shouldn't be there. Which, of course, leads to the big question, right? If we've got these incredible cellular soldiers, why on earth do they so often miss something as dangerous as cancer?
And here's the frustrating answer. Because cancer is just a mutated version of us, the T cells' sensors, they just don't see it as a threat. The cancer cells aren't setting off the right alarms. This ability to wear a clever disguise, to cloak itself, is cancer's biggest advantage. And that was the core problem scientists had to figure out how to solve.
And that brings us to the breakthrough, the big idea. If our natural cells can't see the enemy, well, what if we could give them a genetic upgrade? What if we could actually engineer our own cellular superheroes?
This is where something called CAR T-cell therapy comes in. It's a revolutionary treatment where you take a patient's own T cells out of their body and you genetically engineer them in a lab so they can finally recognize and destroy that patient's specific cancer. That CAR part, it stands for chimeric antigen receptor. But really, you can just think of it as a brand new lab-designed sensor. It's kind of like a GPS system that gives the T cells the superpower to finally see the cancer they were missing before.
And the process itself is actually pretty straightforward when you break it down into 4 steps. First, they collect T cells right from a patient's blood. Second, in the lab, they add a new gene. That's the one that builds that cancer-seeking CAR sensor we just talked about. Third, they take these newly superpowered cells and grow them by the millions. And finally, this whole new living army of engineered cells is put right back into the patient, ready to go on the hunt.
Now, this isn't just some abstract theory. This has a very, very human face. Take the story of Emily Whitehead. She was the first child ever treated with CAR T cells. She had a kind of leukemia that had failed every single treatment they threw at it. She was only 8 years old, and she had completely run out of options.
The year was 2012, and as a total last resort, her doctors decided to try this incredibly experimental therapy.
And her cancer disappeared, just like that. Her own re-engineered cells did what nothing else could. And today, more than a decade later, Emily Whitehead isn't just cured. Get this, she's a pre-med student at the University of Pennsylvania, inspired by the very science that saved her life. This wasn't just some temporary fix, it was a cure.
Emily's story, it was a huge turning point. But of course, technology never stands still, right? The original way they got that new gene into the T cells, it worked, but it wasn't perfect. Now, scientists have an even more powerful tool to make these cellular superheroes even more effective. And that tool is CRISPR. Now, CRISPR was actually first discovered as part of the immune system in bacteria, which is pretty cool. But scientists have figured out how to use it as a tool to literally rewrite DNA. The simplest way to think about it is like find and replace for the source code of life. It has a guide that finds the exact spot you want to change, and then a pair of molecular scissors that makes a precise cut. It's unbelievably precise.
And this really shows you what a huge leap in precision we're talking about. The older method, using a virus, was kind of like a blunt instrument.
It got the job done, but you couldn't really control where the new gene ended up. CRISPR, on the other hand, it's like a surgical scalpel. It lets scientists make these super targeted changes at the exact location they want. And that just opens up a whole new world of more sophisticated programming for these cells.
So what this all means is that we're moving way beyond just a single new treatment. What we're actually witnessing is a fundamental shift in the entire philosophy of medicine.
There's this quote from Dr. Alex Marson, who's a pioneer in this field that just perfectly captures it. He said, "All of a sudden we can actually talk to our own cells and give them instructions in the language of DNA." Think about that. It's not about finding the right pill anymore. It's about having a direct conversation with our own biology.
So really, the big takeaway here is that we are entering this new age of programmable, living medicine. We can now engineer our very own cells to have the precision and the endurance to fight disease from the inside out. We're creating personalized treatments that are just smarter and more effective than anything we've had before.
And that leaves us with one final kind of mind-blowing thought. If we can already program ourselves to cure some of the deadliest cancers, what's next? Autoimmune diseases? Genetic disorders? It feels like the instruction manual for our own biology is finally being written, and we're just getting to the first chapter.